We're back, everyone. Welcome to Subjectively. Today, we have a very special video planned for you. Longtime fans of Subjectively may remember our very first video, and our first series that really got popular early on in our channel's history, discussing Pokemon designs we did and didn't like, and making changes we thought would help us like those Pokemon more. It was the reason behind the name Subjectively. We had a feeling that people were going to disagree with our opinions. Well, after about 5 years, we're back at it again to take another crack at redesigning Pokemon that we don't like. This time, however, I'm joined by a different ensemble of artists. Some of these folks you probably already know if you've watched True Green's 4 Artists series. We have Vergoliphus, Mr. Bonnie John, Jinja Ninja, Bilsu Art, and of course the man himself, True Green 7. In fact, if by the end of this video you're not sick of my voice, hop on over to True Green's channel for another collab video, the 9th installment of the 4 Artists series featuring myself, Nordist, and Bilsu Art. Yeah, it was a busy month for us, let me tell you. I don't want to waste too much time on the preamble here. We have a big video and a lot of content to share, but before we get to the good stuff, I want to take a brief moment to thank the sponsor of today's video, Mistplay. Do you have your phone open right now as you're watching this video? Trying to get the best pull from your favorite gacha game, or maybe you just want to blow off a little steam with an idle game on the bus ride home? Why not earn as you play with Mistplay? Mistplay is a leading loyalty app for those of us who love playing mobile games. What's a loyalty app? Well, basically it means that you get rewards for doing the same thing you do every day, gaming on your phone. Mistplay rewards users for the time and money that they spend within the games they download from their platform, and they can redeem those rewards for gift cards. Feeling bored with the games that you already have? Mistplay offers a vast catalog of mobile games of different genres: action, adventure, casual, and more. The more you play, the more you earn. Redeem your points for gift cards from your favorite brands like Amazon, Walmart, Visa, Xbox, PlayStation, and many more for all of your daily shopping needs. Eager to download and start earning rewards? I don't blame you. To get started, click the link in the video description and make sure to use the code SUBJECTIVELY30 inside the app to get 30 free points, which will help towards redeeming your first gift card. Code expires October 31st and is limited to the first 20,000, so hurry up and click that link before it's too late. Thank you so much for Mistplay for sponsoring this video, and now it's time to get to the good stuff. Now, just a reminder before we get started, everything we're discussing in this video is subjective. Just because we don't like a certain Pokemon doesn't mean that it's a bad design. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion, and as you're about to see, some of us don't even agree with each other when it comes to which Pokemon out there need to be redesigned. Each of us picked the mons that we did to change them so that they cater more to our individual tastes. You may like that we made less than the official design, and that's totally fair. In fact, be sure to leave your thoughts on our changes down in the comments, and let us know which Pokemon you would change if you could. With that said, let's cut the chat and take a look at the changes that we made. I hope you enjoy the video. Okay, so I will go in chronological order throughout the Pokedex. So the first Pokemon that I picked that I wanted to change was Grumpig. The thing is that there are very few Pokemon from Gen 3 that I really don't like, and I love Spoink. You know, Spoink is adorable, but Grumpig has always bothered me because it just seems so, like, half-baked. Mostly what I don't like about it is its face. Like, it feels so confusing. I can't tell what it's trying to convey. It's like kind of smug, kind of cheerful, a little cheeky, like it's kind of like a prankster. But as it turns out, its Pokedex species type is the Manipulator Pokemon. You'd think it's like, I don't know, the bouncing pig Pokemon or something. No, but it's the Manipulator Pokemon. All of its Pokedex entries talk in some capacity about how it is able to like coerce other Pokemon to do its bidding for it. And so it's like kind of this hypnotic bully, and I kind of wanted to latch onto that a little bit, make that personality show through really clear in the face. And then also something I wanted to do, because like I said, I really like Spoink, I wanted to sort of bring in the springtail. Like Spoink's whole thing is that it's bouncing on its curly pigtail, and then with Grumpig, I don't know, it just has a curly springtail.
Like, it's less fantastical than Spoink.
Yeah.
So this guy basically, he gaslights everybody. So he's not really a psychic type. He's just a walking red flag. Now, when I look at this guy, first of all, looks like someone who I would swing on sight. I do not trust this man whatsoever. Many of the Pokemon today I will be fighting in the parking lot. You know, these are just designs we don't like. When I look at Spoink, he's so cute, but above all, the focus, right, of the pearl is like right there in your face. When you look at this guy, we lose the focus. They don't do anything special with that main feature for this line. And I think that's where this kind of, like, and, you know, based on what you guys are saying, and I agree, loses that fantastical kind of element.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's like somehow we went less interesting, less mystical, less fantasy from the first form, and that's just not what anyone wants to see from their Pokemon designs. So I took it upon myself to make the changes that I thought would improve Grumpig significantly. So here is what I decided to go with.
Oh.
Whoa.
Nice. He does look like a manipulator.
Wow.
He looks like he'd be really mean to me.
Wow.
I love, Bonnie, that you said that this is the Gaslight Pokemon because,
Yeah.
you know, those were sort of the vibes I was giving. Like, Gaslight and a little girl boss, too. Like,
a little,
I sort of
yeah.
wanted to,
You see the sassiness there, yeah.
Yeah, a little, like, stylish, like, almost like owning the pearls in, like...
Yeah, I see that. The dangling earring kind of effect going on. There's, yeah.
I appreciate that you used the Gen 3 texture work on it.
It really does feel like the original Grumpig is just a better form of this, and this is what it should have been the entire time.
A lot of inspiration came from this piece of pottery. I think pigs in general have very interesting faces, but often they're made like kind of stout and chunky. You know, at least in America, we're used to like the big farm pigs that have these big fat bodies and kind of short snouts. But I liked like a lot of Mediterranean depictions of pigs where they have these long, kind of more predatory looking snouts that are a little fearsome with the tusks sticking out. I had this idea in my head about this Greek fable about a pig that lives on an island that can hypnotize you to do, you know, its bidding for it. And that kind of influence seeped its way into my design. And I didn't really change anything about the lore. It's still, you know, the manipulator Pokemon. I wrote a little Pokedex entry, but it's pretty much the same thing as what Grumpig's Pokedex entry said before. And it's just kind of trying to make that vision a little bit more clear.
It's beautiful. I think elongating that face really allows, you know, this new expression to live in all that real estate. And especially for a Pokemon that's bouncing on its tail, like much of the movement in that first design is stout. Like you said, like, you know, kind of our pigs over here in the West. But when you look at, it's great you included Spoink here in that, you know, Dex entry, because you can see it extends upward, you know, more so. And that in itself is like a visual alliteration that's important for evolution.
It's more streamlined too, more aerodynamic in the face.
Why the long face?
Why the long face? Why are you so upset? You're manipulating.
Nobody wants to be around it. It's toxic.
I love pigs, and I love pig imagery in character design, but there aren't a lot of pig Pokemon that I really like, so it's very disappointing to me that Spoink has such a disappointing evolution. So that's really what I wanted.
You did great.
I was expecting like an evolved form kind of look, but you really did. It's literally just Grumpig, but like better.
You like reshaped it.
Yeah, so that's Grumpig, and now for my second design, I skipped ahead a bunch of generations, and I picked Rillaboom. And I know,
stand with Jack. Fuck
I know that we
Rillaboom.
have some Rillaboom enjoyers.
How dare!
Cinderace. So.
I mean, this is going to be controversial in the chat because I think the Gen 8 starters, the final evolutions at least, are very divisive. I think some people really like them. I think some people really don't. I tend to fall in the camp of people who don't love them so much.
Monkey.
I mean, I get what you mean because I love Inteleon and I've redesigned Inteleon 3 times.
Based in Taliyah and Jorrier.
Look at him. He looks very handsome.
It's a handsome man right there.
What kills me about Rillaboom is that it's so close. I've wanted a gorilla Pokemon since Gen 4. Before it came out, I was in elementary school and people were talking about the starters and theorizing what their evolutions would be. And one of my friends told me that Chimchar was going to evolve into a gorilla. And I got really excited about that. But then it never did. And For a while, I really hated Infernape because I just wanted it to be a gorilla and it wasn't. Now I've come around to Infernape.
I thought you were gonna say that you didn't forgive your friend. For a while, I was mad at them.
You pushed them off the top of the slide.
I don't even remember who told me that. I mean, maybe I didn't talk to them ever again, coincidentally. It's just put a little sand in their shorts. No, I held it against Infernape, which wasn't fair. Once I sort of accepted, I was like, oh, it's got a Wukong thing going on. I like it more. But then when Grookey was announced, like, I was like, gorilla, 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 gorilla. And Grookey evolved into Thwackey, and I was like, okay, I like this, this is going in the right direction. And then it evolved into Rillaboom, and I was just like, oh, it's so close. It's so close to what I wanted. But that's just me. And so why describe what I want from Rillaboom when I can just show you?
Yeah, I knew you were gonna do that.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Like, the one thing that I agree with is that the drums should be a part of its body, I guess. I like the existing drums, but yeah, the chest drums make so much sense.
This rendering is insane. Like, it feels so legit.
Thank you. I think part of that is just because I didn't really change the colors at all. I pretty much kept the same colors from Rillaboom, which is a great hack out there for anyone who's doing Fakemon artwork themselves. If you use colors that exist in Pokemon already, it makes it look a lot more convincing.
Question: do you remember what blending mode? I mean, or whatever it is in Procreate that you use for the highlights?
I actually didn't use a blending mode at all. I literally just color dropped the highlights that were on Rillaboom already.
Okay.
Well, actually, Rillaboom has like no highlights on its design, so I think I might have just fudged them a little bit. But yeah, any highlights that are on Rillaboom, I painted them on there. Same thing with the shadows too. But yeah, that's my Rillaboom. As you can see, the drums are built in rather than a separate tool.
He's gonna beat on his boobies.
He beats on his boobies, absolutely. I was actually like a little worried, like, wait, is this inappropriate? Like a giant gorilla titties?
I will say that I love this design. I think it's actually really good. I know what will make it, what will make people reject this design. I mean, as in like developers. It's because of the orange spots on the chest are definitely they're going to be rejected. even though it really does look good, like design wise, I think that would be one of the major obstacles when you want to get it through. The developer standpoint is that you're gonna have to get rid of the orange spots on the chest.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think that I definitely expressing some of my liberties not actually working for Gamefreak with this design, because I almost didn't make them orange, but I was like, nah, that little pop of orange actually goes pretty hard.
It kind of looks like he has another monkey face on his
I was gonna say that as well. So from a distance.
Yeah, wow, it actually does. Yeah,
I thought that was intentional because
it's like
that
a chimp face.
Yeah, that top brow matches the brows, the same cutout at the top of the brow there.
Wow, it does.
I thought that was intentional. In fact, the bottom half feeding like the rest of the monkey mouth or gorilla mouth.
No, that was entirely unintentional. I was mostly... So I was trying to replicate some of the patterns on Rillaboom's chest because I like how they're somewhere between like forest leaves, but also kind of like punk rock attire. And as you can see, like the punk rock part of it, I kind of nixed that. I think that would be another thing that would just get this rejected by the art director at Game Freak, because they were clearly going for that look. Like they wanted Rillaboom to be in the band with Obstagoon and Toxtricity. And I get that, and I like that, but my ideal Rillaboom would be he pounds his chest, and he's just a little happier. The other thing I don't like about Rillaboom is that he just looks so angry.
He's very static.
It's hard not to defend Rillaboom. like I could tell you like why, but like it doesn't matter.
Tell me, I want to hear the Rillaboom defense.
I just like the dynamic between how he is in this and how he is in the game. So like it's just more personality when it could be both angry and happy, because it's like it's a protector, but then when you get to know it, he's a very nice guy.
Yeah.
I mean, you made him a nice guy too, so like I like what you did. It's just, they're two facets of Rillaboom.
When you look at the key art, when I look at it, and you're so right, and a lot of like quote unquote bad Pokemon design or just design that we don't like, it's always just a touch off. It's not so much. I've found, like, I've been polling a lot of people about, you know, what they think about like the most quote unquote hated designs, and it comes down to people, you know, actually enjoying them through extended media. And so looking at this key art of Rillaboom that they give us, he's very stern. You don't see the drum, you don't see the sticks. I'd argue that's probably my biggest issue in the default state, right? Because you could say that there's like a default state where he's just standing around, and then incorporating like that drummer motif is through an external set of accessories, right? Now, if we had, say, a built-in drum set like you've put in here for his chest, or, you know, sticks that's like hanging like maybe in his hair, right? In the same way that through line exists in Grookey and what's the middle guy, Thwackey? You know, we'd have like a visual like movement across the lines. That would be like my biggest issue as far as fixing the motif of what we've gotten. Like he does look very stern and serious, and you know, when you look at a musician, they're just passionate people who are creatives, right? I think we're missing that in the key art, and we get that wholly in your Rillaboom take. You know, the step, the movement of the hands, the expression. I think those elements you incorporated make your key art stronger than the Rillaboom that we got.
Yeah.
You solved it, you know, in that retrospect.
I think it has a lot of the same charm as Rillaboom, just it's the personal bits that I don't like. Like, I don't like Pokemon that have like implied hair so much. I'm not super into that.
And I love it.
I don't like
Yeah, I love hair.
Me too.
that's just my personal bias. And the other thing I don't love about Rillaboom is that its body looks more like a person in a gorilla suit than an actual gorilla. You know, its legs are so long. Because like when I saw Rillaboom, this is going to grow on me. And I was like, I had it in my camp with me, and I was watching it like run around, watching it run around on 2 legs, watching it run around on 4 legs, watch it play with the other Pokemon, and it just never grew on me. I was like, it just looks awkward, and I don't like that it has human feet and not gorilla feet, and I don't like that its legs are so long, and I don't like that it has abs.
And it's just my reaction to it's just my final thoughts.
See, I love Donkey Kong. I feel like that's a good middle ground between like what I love about gorillas and what you know, like cartoonifying gorillas. Everyone give you your best DK okay impression.
That was a good one.
All right.
That better go in the video.
Those are my guys, and
They're pretty great.
thank you.
Nice job.
All right, June,
Okay.
show us what you got.
Speaking of implied hair,
Oh, here we go.
I'm gonna start us off with my most subtle redesign, and it's entirely self-indulgent.
Oh, really?
I take great issue with Toxapex because I think Moraine is so freaking cute. That is the cutest little patootie I have ever seen. It is a baby.
So cute.
It evolved into Toxapex, and my heart just broke a bit because
Yeah.
I understand things can't always stay cute. But man, is Moraine adorable. Thank God for Evilite, because I never want to evolve Moraine ever. With Toxapex, other than the cute thing, my other big issue is when I look at Toxapex, I'm immediately confused on the perspective. Like, it registers to me as smaller than Moraine.
Yeah.
It looks like the body shrinks instead of the hair growing. I really thought when I sat down to redesign it that I'd be changing more. I didn't end up changing very much at all, but what I did do, I definitely prefer, and I wouldn't mind evolving it if it looked more like this. So here's my subtle Toxapex redesign.
Oh. Nice.
Let me go ahead and grab that transparent version. New.
Oh, and it's eviler too.
Eviler. So I adjusted its teeth just a little bit. I I gave it that second part of its body back. I think them getting sharp is enough of a change. I thought it would be more interesting to make the crown just like a little more fantastical when it evolved instead of looking basically the same as it did when it was a Moraine. I thought it might register a bit more as like the crown of thorns thing going on. And I like implied hair, and I missed it on Moraine. So Toxapex has these like these little arrow-looking things on its face. I gave it bangs.
Don't be ashamed of that. Don't be ashamed.
I like it. I like him like that.
I gotta be honest. I said I don't like implied hair, but it varies from Pokemon to Pokemon, and it's really funny because I'm looking at your design, and then I'm looking at official Toxapex, and I'm like, it's bald. Where's its hair? It really needs hair.
Bald.
I actually do think that elevates it quite a bit, to be honest with you. It adds so much more personality to it.
Thank you. My biggest thing is just the body getting so tiny. Get your dress back. Put your dress back on.
I gotta commend the angle too. It's very interesting.
Yeah,
like
it's
being
really
able to see the crown is on display. The spikes feel spikier, like in this depiction too, which is nice.
It looks more like it's playing peekaboo.
Yeah, evil peekaboo.
I started off with something a little less dynamic. With those arm flaps, they just cover up the crown so much. So
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's true. Actually, it completely obscures the crown part.
and like it's a crown of thorns Pokemon. Like we got to see the crown. Give me the crown.
You're
Yeah,
objectively
the
right
posing.
this time. This is not subjective.
Objectively right.
This is not a subjective case. It's an objective case, objectively.
So that was my Toxapex. My other one is a bit more of a change. I have beef with Delphox.
Oh my god, yes.
I
it's-
have beef
understandable.
with
Second.
Delphox.
I
So
second.
I think we can all agree that Greninja fucks. Greninja's fantastic. Apparently, this one's a little more controversial. I think Quilladin's awesome. Or not Quilladin,
I
my
love
bad. Chestnut.
Yeah, Chestnut's good.
Quilladin is
I like
the
Chestnut's
goat.
cool.
Chestnut's okay.
June,
I like both of
June.
them.
I've redesigned Delphox twice myself.
Same brain cell, same brain cell. I think that Greninja and Chestnut are both so fun, and everybody loves Braixen.
Oh,
Braixen
yeah.
was a
Yes.
fantastic evolution. And then we got to
Hard agree.
Delphox, and I was just disappointed. I was underwhelmed. I think that what they do with Braixen's ear fluff is very fun and creative. And it's hard to articulate why exactly, but like the ear fluff on Delphox, it's just
Yeah.
the shape's not giving. It's not as fun to me. It's just kind of like, oh, there's more of it, you know? We could have done something else. And then its dress is just, it's boring. The dress is boring to me. I used to have a Nuzlocke comic, and I'd like make designs for Delphoxes, and I always like just changed up the dress design because I'm like, it's just so much more interesting if you have more fun with the dress.
It's very static. It doesn't have a lot of movement to it. It doesn't really even feel like a dress. It just kind of feels like matted fur, which like it is, but like I don't. Give me the fantasy. Give me the fantasy of the dress, of the witch dress.
It's a mage. Give me the fantasy.
If you're gonna make a
Give me the
fox
fantasy.
Pokemon, make it pretty, not this.
Yeah. The Delphox's in-game model, the 3D model, is especially,
Yes.
that's Delphox at its worst. It's so stiff.
The other thing about Delphox that I didn't even totally realize I had an issue with until I was redesigning it was we go from Fennekin, who has no stick or wand, to Braixen, who has it like creatively put in their tail that it slays, Braixen slays,
Yep.
and then we get to Delphox, and again like its stick is just stored in its sleeve. And it's still just a stick. It's still just a wand. Why not something cooler, like a staff? So on that note,
Oh,
here's my Delphox.
yes.
Here's
there
my
we go.
Delphox.
Now we're talking.
What a great
Gave him
pose,
a-
by the way.
Thank you. Gave him a fun little hat. Give him a little mage hat. Why not? I had the ear. At first, I thought making the hat be made out of the inner ear fluff, but then I had it kind of going down around its waist. Like I when I think of mages, I think about them having like potions along their belt.
Yeah.
And I didn't give them any potions, but I gave them that asymmetrical. They kept that one little dress bit of design that goes around where potions would go. I don't know, maybe it can put some fireballs there to use later.
Oh, that's a cool idea.
big staff, more fantastical shape to the stick, more fun dress. That we're in business. I like this one more.
The ear hair,
Well,
does that go all the way to the waist? Is that the ear hair?
Yep.
Oh, nice.
Oh, I love that.
Honestly,
Plethora of ear hair.
this is very nostalgic. Seeing a Braixen evolution, it brings me back to like 2013.
That's true.
I can definitely tell that like already like Miss Magus is like they really should have taken like notes from Miss Magus and Honchcrow to just give the poor fox a hat instead of what they did. I can already say that looking at this design makes me think that Meowscarada was them going,
was
you
thinking
know
the same
what,
thing.
we ruined Delphox, let's actually do it right this time. Because I love Meowscarada. I adore Meowscarada. Absolute girl boss. I don't care what the gender ratio. Girl boss, whatever gender they are. And honestly, I feel like this really should have been Delphox.
Thank you. I was a little bit worried about that while I was doing this. I'm like, this isn't too Meowscarada, right? Like we're not crossing the beams too much.
No.
I think it's so important for a lot of these designs that use accessories as like the key component to evolve with the Pokemon. I can't stand like Pokemon that have, funny enough, like Meowscarada's element with the yo-yo becoming the tool. What would you call it? It's not like it's just this floating flower. Like,
Some magic thing. Some magic
yeah,
prop.
some
Some magic thing.
The magic thing, like with Timber, that line you can see a very clear progression of like a building tool, right? It's not my favorite progression of an item, but I thought the exact same thing where early on, you know, Grookey is like an obvious case where, yeah, it doesn't need to do too much. Eventually the sticks like are banging against the drum, but like I've always thought with Braixen, like this, you know, that witch's stick, the wand, the wand, the witch's, you know, the trusty witch's stick. It
Harry
finds both the
Potter and the
Pokemon.
witch's stick.
Don't say it too quickly, though.
No.
It sounds like something else.
But to evolve that sense of like grandeur, right? Especially like you said, fantasy, like lean into the wand becoming a staff, like elevate that part of the design. It's as important as the Pokemon itself. So we get to see that here. There's so much personality in that alone.
If you ask me, this is just objectively better.
Objectively.
Objective-
So much Jack
Objectively.
objectively.
Objectively, six.
I can deem it objectively. I so deem it objectively better. I am the only one with the power.
Do
to
we rate it subjectively
designation.
or do we rate it objectively?
Yeah, very good, June. Fantastic work.
Great job.
Yeah, you did
Great
great.
job.
Way better.
You guys are so sweet.
I also do like this red more than the orange red
Yeah.
on Delphox.
Oh, that's so true. This
I
one does.
can't help myself. I'm such a bitch for saturated colors lately. I can't help myself.
It's definitely more common now.
I'm such a bitch for saturated colors. That's gotta go. That's like in the thumbnail. I think. I think
Yeah,
that's
I
going
like
right in the thumbnail.
Hopefully I picked Pokemon that are unpopular, so nobody's gonna protest.
No, we're crucifying you. That's it.
I was a little hard on Rillaboom, but that's mostly because Rillaboom was actually like my favorite Gen 8 Pokemon. So this is my least favorite Pokemon actually, Aromatisse.
Okay.
Oh, we know that.
Understandable, bestie. Have a nice day.
Honestly, because I've talked and thought about it so much for the last like few years, because it's my least favorite Pokemon, I honestly I empathize with it, so I don't really hate it anymore. First, let's talk about why it's, in my opinion, one of the least successful Pokemon ever. Basically, it has the most genius origin and concept out of any Pokemon, probably the best combination of things I've ever heard. So, Perfume, Plague Doctor, Masquerade, Can Dancer, maybe slightly Flamenco, and they all make sense together. Like, they could work together.
Yeah.
And in the end, it just looks very awkward. It doesn't pull off the personality that it was given, which is maybe, like, it's supposed to slay. I believe it's supposed to slay. No. But it doesn't.
No slaying in sight. Not a no slaying in sight.
Exactly. I feel bad for it. It doesn't pull it off. Perhaps it's trying its best, and that's why I think I empathize with it. Like despite with the design it was given, it's trying. So I'll be like, okay, if you're trying, you go. But like,
Slay anyway.
I love.
yeah,
I think it looks confused.
This is her first day on the job. She's
Yeah,
still
it does
getting
look
a little-
confused.
While I'm like pretty nice to general like Pokemon, I don't think I've ever really disliked a Pokemon in my adult years. But to be honest, I do think that this is more like a filler Pokemon.
that's what's so. But the concept was not. Everybody wants a Plague Doctor Pokemon, right? But here's the thing: I did not make a Plague Doctor Pokemon. There are Plague Doctor elements of what I did, though. I made sure that all of its origins are explicit instead of mostly the can dancer. So here is.
Incoming Waifumon.
Yeah, let's go.
Get ready to slay. Slay all day.
It's
Another day,
slays.
another slay.
Yeah, dude, this
looks
is so
confident now.
good. This is so good.
Love the hat.
Thank you. Yeah, it doesn't really need to have a different face, honestly. It's just a different pose, really, is mostly what's making it slay harder. The hat, it's not completely Plague Doctor, but it's Plague Doctor inspired. I also made it look a little bit more, it's longer, so it's a little bit more like a flamingo even. So it's it works even more in that aspect. And what's funny is that I actually redesigned it a few years ago. And I think it was time to redesign it again because honestly, this is kind of outdated. A lot of
Oh, I do remember
negative
that.
space. Yeah.
It's interesting how much of this does persist over into the newer design,
that's
though.
true.
You've taken the good parts of this and sort of modernized it
You
with
got
your.
so much better too. It just
Yeah,
samurai style.
you've just
The
improved.
render style is godly.
Yeah, it's I went a little too much in the previous redesign, but now it's I appreciate some aspects of Aromatisse. So it doesn't need to be long. It doesn't need to be too feminine or human shaped. It just needs to have more confidence, I guess.
No, dude. So yeah, subjectively, tip, and you can put a little ding sound effect here. I think why this is so effective is because Ron actually paid homage to the original design, right? A lot of people might take things that actually did work for the Pokemon and just kind of shove it to the side. Over here, you can see the original Aromatisse in here. If the team kept pushing with a few more passes, and genuinely, I think so many of the awful designs, they just need a little more work, just a couple more passes. This design, the way it's built, it's still got that kind of, not scrunched in, but it's still very stout, but it feels more expressive because the silhouette gets open because of the new pose. So I think by, paying homage to the original, you get such a more effective and impactful redesign.
And it's very fun to try to honor your least favorite design, which is
Yes, good challenge.
it's humbling. It's very
It's
nice.
funny. I feel the exact same way about Aromatisse. I think, at first I was like, because I like Spritzy a lot. Spritzy's adorable. Aromatisse, for a very long time, I was like, that's disappointing. But then I kind of embraced how weird it was. But sort of every time I tried to like it more, I don't know, it just didn't grow on me in the way that I hoped it would. And I think a lot of it, it just comes from how confused and unfinished it feels.
Filler Fairy.
I also gave it the dancer ability. Makes sense because now it's more of a dancer than a perfume bottle. Also, I changed the stats, but it's based on the original stats. It's not like I gave it way more attack than it had or anything like that.
Just buffed it a little bit.
Just yes, tiny buff. But the second one is also an unpopular Pokemon. The next one is Jynx.
Classic.
And this one's tough because if you like Jynx, you love Jynx, you know? So it's
I'm sorry. Who likes Jynx? who is out there? Who is the Jynx
I
defender
have a
out
friend
there?
who likes Jynx.
Me a little bit. I think something about Jynx makes me feel bad for it, and I'm kind of a Jynx appreciator in that way. I love Smoochum. I think Jynx was robbed by
Yeah, I
not
don't think
getting
so.
a new third evolution.
Yeah.
I always wanted it too.
Yeah.
I don't think Gamefreak will ever touch Jynx with a 40-foot pole
really
ever again.
Yeah.
Unfortunate.
But that's the thing, even changing it to purple didn't fix anything in terms
No.
of the design. It's technically what? It's technically one of the only Pokemon that has a redesign already.
It's true.
So we're redesigning a redesign. Again, just like Aromatisse, it has a really good origin. The concept could have been perfect. So it's, a combination of the Yuki Onna, Yamamba, Ganguro fashion, also a bit of Valkyrie with the breastplates and stuff, which makes sense for an ice type. So it's like European looking, but it's also 75% Japanese based. I wanted to combine in all of the aspects a little bit better. It's simply like the worst like executed mishmash of concepts in Generation 1. And obviously the usual complaints are like it's uncanny, it's too humanoid, like it's scary. It's not, that's the thing, again, it doesn't utilize the origin, so it's not scary like a Yamamba, it's not like cute like a Genguro, it's based on Yukiona, it's literally an ice woman, but it doesn't look like an ice type at all, so it's the worst example of clothes on a Pokemon, I believe.
Yeah, that's pretty
Well,
bad.
I was gonna say.
Yeah, well, I mean, literally,
Yes, they're the worst by far.
boobs that it needs to cover up. So
The point is, honestly, I don't hate it. I don't hate Jynx, because it's a Gen 1 Pokemon, so it's like you're used to it. It's hard to like, you're okay with it by now. My version is just, it's what they originally technically wanted.
Wow, this is amazing.
whoa,
I like
Oh,
that.
I love the wing hair. Yes.
That's pretty great.
That's
And
awesome.
it's, I mean, the wings are more of the Valkyrie aspect, and since it's slightly more European on the head, I made the body slightly more Japanese with like slightly more of kimono, but it's still like it's like a combination of European dress and like kimono at the same time, which I think is interesting. And originally I was gonna give it wing hair, but also like arms, but then I decided to do this. But then honestly, it's very much Frostlass.
oh yeah, a little bit, yeah.
But that they're based on the same thing, so I can't really not do that. And that's the thing. It's like we have Frostlass. It already is a better execution of the same concept.
Yeah, kinda.
So
She is slaying.
This is
I
a
had
slay.
to-
This is a slay.
do something.
I see you got rid of the lips and used Smoochum's lips since they're, I guess, less creepy and human, right? Is that what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's
Connect the line.
honestly way more of a Smoochum evolution than Jynx's. Like the hair is inspired
Absolutely.
by Smoochum. Like
Covering the eyes was really good.
Yes.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that's actually, I think that's what we did in our Jynx redesign too, is we just had
Mine
the hair
too.
cover the eyes. In original Jynx, it's not just that you see the eyes, it's also that you see like underneath where the hair parts and see like the scalp. And that, I think, is part of what makes it so unsettling. It's
that's
like,
true.
Well, it makes it less humanoid too.
yeah, it feels more like a yokai or something.
The original Jynx is called the human shaped Pokemon, I believe, right?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, didn't know
So
that.
it was intentional.
Yeah.
I changed this to the alluring Pokemon because I mean it's like a Valkyrie. I think that's what they're supposed to do. But like,
Yeah.
but it's still like from the distance human shaped. Like the wings look like arms, and they're technically not
Yeah.
wings. It floats because it of using psychic powers. It doesn't flap the wings really. They're not wings. They're hair. I still works even though I changed the category and the ability.
Oh, I think it looks great. It is such a huge. I mean, Jynx is such a daunting prospect because the idea of changing it, it's like, well, where do you go with that? At least that's how I always felt about Jynx. But it's cool to sort of explore every possible route that you could go with Jynx instead of just focusing on the bits that people already don't like. I have to say, I'm fascinated because I was going to point it out that it has those two little, like Jynx has those little spikes that stick out of its dress, and you kept those. And it's
Yeah.
so funny how much more intentional they look in your design.
I thought if you like Jynx, you probably like the spikes too, so I kept them.
Kind of gives me like Iron Maiden vibes now.
Yeah, Iron Maiden a little bit. Yeah, I feel like the spikes in the original design were like, because you know how like a lot of the Gen 1 Pokemon were designed as sprites first, and then they made the artwork for them.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe it was like just a misinterpretation of the sprite.
Interesting.
That's how, because they seem so unintentional. Like you don't even notice it at first. It just looks like part of the dress, but like in the background. But yours makes it so much more intentional, and that's another subjective tip thing. Like when you're designing a character, make sure that your intention with the elements of the design are clear to the audience. Because if you put something and you're like, here's, I don't know, spikes on the hips, it's like, well, okay, but why? Why are those there? And if they are there for a reason, make sure that the audience can look at them and say, oh, those are spikes on the hips. They're not like, oh wait, are those spikes on the hip? Is some part of it falling off? What is it? That's how it feels in the original design. Your design makes them a lot more intentional.
No, I mean obviously I also made the skin blue, like frostbitten instead
Yeah.
of
Great.
purple.
Yeah, we need more ice representation in the design itself. We never got that in that first one.
Yeah, and like the original, like Jynx is like literally blonde, like blonde, while this is more like it could be fur, kind of.
Platinum
It's
blonde.
hair. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
platinum bond. It's not just like a European woman or something.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right. Very nice. Fantastic. I love how both of these Pokemon look so compatible with one another. Both of your redesigns are like both
They're besties.
Ooh, yeah.
Best friends.
It's pretty great.
I think if a Pokemon is supposed to be sexy, it should be sexy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're going to have to face the internet with that opinion. We'll see what the rest of the internet has to say about that.
Video title. If a Pokemon's sexy, it should be sexy.
Okay, so we
that's
have-
a million views.
Okay, Virgo, let's go.
So, I think for my two Pokemon, I definitely talked about them before. But while these are going to be two Gen 9 Pokemon, they're going to be probably a little bit subtle. But what I thought about these Pokemon is not just the design, but I thought about them, how they're animated. That's what I just think about Pokemon these days. It's just, okay, this is how they look, but how will they look if they're animated? Will this look amazing in my head if it's in movement? So I thought about Cetitan first. Well, I mean, I like Cetitan, but at the same time, I don't really like Cetitan. I don't like that it's, bipedal. I get that there is this yokai that's like supposed to be like a weird looking bipedal whale, but I don't like the way that it looks. I'm kind of disappointed that for the land shark Pokemon we got like Garchomp, but for the land whale Pokemon we got this. Like cetaceans are really, really cool looking Pokemon, and so far, like for me, I think the only like really cool looking cetacean for me is Kyogre. Even even something as cute as the dolphin one, Palafin, is really cute, but the hero form is just a little bit too goofy. But I mean, that's just me.
Certified Palafin hater right here.
So first of all, I need to make Cetitan a quadruped. And back in the old days, back in the older days, Cetitan would have been a quadruped. I thought about that. I thought about polar bears too, mostly because I like bear anatomy. I love just how bears look, and canines, which is not exactly what the mammal group that Cetitan should be under. But I still thought about canines or caniforms when thinking about this design. So, without further ado, here is my Cetitan redesign. I didn't do a lot, so it's just the Paldea.
Ooh,
Oh.
Well, that's so much more menacing.
that was scary.
Well, I'm glad you kept the colors for the shiny, because that shiny
The
is
shiny is
fantastic.
Yeah,
so
it's the
good.
perfect one.
Yeah, no, right? I really do like the shiny. But yeah, no, as you can see, it's not just that it's a quadruped. I changed the shape a little bit from a teardrop more to a plane, because I kind of like how Wailord is supposed to be a blimp. So this is, and I know that Cetitan kind of is supposed to look a little bit like a plane. So it has a little bit of airplane design, and it has those flippers because, just to remain on that airplane design to it. But I didn't just do full art. I did some doodles of it in motion. And also Cetadle.
Nice.
A quadruped Cetadle. With little flipper ears.
Seeing both of them next to one another, the quadruped Cetadle, it's selling this so much for me right now, because I have absolutely zero qualms with Cetitan. I think it's fantastic. But this is kind of growing on me now a little bit, where I'm like, wait a minute, I never even thought of the possibilities of it being not just quadrupedal, but a little like dinosaurish too. Like it's you kind of use sort of the similar conventions that they use in the prehistoric paradox forms, where it's just kind of like give them some spikes and some claws, and I kind of like, it's so simple, but I kind of love that.
I didn't really think about paradox Pokemon too much. I actually thought about Gen 1 design quirks. And when it comes to the spikes on its back, I think I sort of like continued on the spikes or the horns because, well, like the whales or these kinds of whales, they do have the barnacles growing on them. So they have a little bit of that rougher skin. Which it does kind of displace a little bit of like a very smooth body. It makes it a little bit, craggly, little bumpy.
Yeah.
but still decent enough to ride like a little bobsled. So this is not really an all-terrain whale. I don't think it can swim all that well because it's no longer a swimming whale, but it can glide through the snow. It is a very good alpine Pokemon for where you find it. It slides down and it can turn itself into a toboggan. It's aerodynamic in that sense that it doesn't fly, but you can see that the way that it's like a plane design, it can glide down the mountain as best as it can. And I do like the idea that if it's chasing you around, if it's following behind you, Cetitan, this is kind of like, trotting along like a little puppy behind you, and like the big guy is like, kind of like bulky, like an Ankylosaurus or something like that, just kind of like walking behind you on all fours. And because of Grusha, I also thought about like Grusha. Oh, well, yeah, I could also see Gym Leader Grusha,
Oh, yeah.
Probably, maybe Gym Leader Grusha would have like slid down on one of these things back in the day when he wasn't injured.
You gotta draw that.
I love his big meaty legs.
Yeah, it's so bulky.
What's funny is that I do like Cetitan a lot, and I actually like your design better, but I actually do not like Cetitan, and you ended up making me like Cetitan way more. And that wasn't even your intention. That was like a side thing.
It's got like the puppy dog energy and the dog energy from this.
Yeah, because of my designs being relatively subtler, I decided like I have to make sure that the animation or the motion side of them is like popping off a little bit more.
This is such a cool thing because most of these Pokemon I've agreed I don't like them in their original state. And so like I was expecting to be impressed by the changes, but this I was like, I don't know if you're going to convince me that what you've done is better than Cetitan, but I'm actually pleasantly surprised. I like this a lot.
Yeah, I like Cetitan too, so this one's just like, that much
it's
more
just
better.
more Cetitan. That's what I did for my designs.
Yeah,
is like,
basically.
I see these designs and I decided, what can I make it so that it's more of this, know?
Yeah. More of what you like, not less of what you don't.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes like simple is the way to go.
Well, thank you so much. And I guess I will move on to the second Pokemon.
Let's go.
So, okay, right off the bat, you will understand what Pokemon I'll be doing, which is Bombirdier. And I thought about Bombirdier, and I like Bombirdier. I actually really do like it. I know people are like, oh, I hate the skin flap, but I'm like, I like the little feathery apron. It's a maid, but it's also a stork carrying a baby. It's depending on like where if it's landed or if it's like, carrying its little flap. It's just that something wasn't complete with it. And I still like it. I think I was thinking to myself, I would never change Bombirdier's design. But I thought about the perfect way to change Bombirdier's design. And people are going to say, are you sure this is a redesign? Yes, it is, because it's the same Pokemon. It's Kangaskhan again.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Wow.
It's got a baby.
Yes.
So let me see if
people
I
are
can
going to
get...
love
That
this.
bow tie is incredible.
Oh my god.
Does the baby have a name?
No, it's just Bombirdier. The entire thing is just Bombirdier. It's just the chick,
Yeah, it's like Kangaskhan.
That's
So
great.
I did not change Cetitan's dex entry, but I changed Bombirdier's dex entry a little bit to change to what it should be. So it's Bombardier uses the apron on its chest to bundle up its precious cargo and carries it around. The chick enjoys being dropped on unsuspecting passerbys.
Yes, let's go.
That's great.
Let's go.
Basically, let me get the doodles out.
Yes, more doodles.
This is what Bombardier, the redesigned Bombardiers would look like.
Oh my god. Oh, that's so smart.
I'm so glad that it's still like evil, like just like subtly evil, because that's one of my favorite things about Bombirdier is that it's like, the concept is so innocent, the stork delivering babies. But what if the stork delivering babies dropped rocks on people?
Yeah.
And now you've elevated that concept to what if it did still drop babies, but the babies were also evil and the babies liked hurting people by being dropped on their heads.
Exactly.
The evil Kangaskhan.
And I did not add any note about abilities. I did think to myself, what if either hidden ability or just naturally it had parental bond? Just give it parental bond, just because don't change the stats, but give it parental bond just to
Is that Mega Kangaskhan's ability?
Yes, it used to be Mega. Yeah.
All right, sound the alarms. comments they're flooding in. I already see them. That's bust. That's so OP. Oh my god, it's so OP. Shut up. Everyone, shut up.
If you don't change
Leave the
Bombirdiers like stats, come on.
I think that's awesome. I'm 100% for flavor abilities rather than like balanced abilities.
Yeah, for sure.
So I love that idea.
I really love how the bow tie becomes the apron.
Yes.
It seems like it was intentional.
Yeah, no, it is. It was supposed to be like the bow tie. I was thinking to myself, oh, it could look like the little like knot on the top of like a little baby bundle. But you know, it just the whole like little chick. What I did for the design was it's a baby bonnet because of the hair and the eggshell. So that's like a baby bonnet. And I love Shroomish and I love Sophocle's designs where they have this silly little eyes are just like me. I'm angry.
Choodle has that too, no?
And also, yes, like Choodle. Yeah, I love Choodle. I love Shroomish, and I love Sophocles. Everyone is just like, oh, I hate these ugly faces. I'm like, no, look at it, they're angry.
Who hates Shroomish? Who the hell out there hates Shroomish?
Come on.
Tell me, I'll kick their ass.
And basically, the eggshell is also very, very hard. Sure, it's cracked a little bit, but it can curl up into itself, into the hard shell, and the downy feather is protected from any impact.
Ooh,
so
smart.
Also, like the parental bond thing, like Mega Kangaskhan's like Dex entries is like, oh, you know, it's the mother is getting concerned over how like the baby like fighting too many times. But here, it's the chick, it's getting the bad influence in the parent to be this evil, like to grow up into its own Bombirdier one day.
Yeah, it very much looks like a dark type.
This is
I'm
Basically
glad.
like Angry Birds the Pokemon.
Oh my god, it is.
I don't think anybody's gonna dislike this. Everybody's gonna like.
yeah, everyone's gonna love this.
Yeah.
This is very interesting that you picked two Pokemon that you don't really like hate. You're taking the things about Pokemon that you already like and you're just making them so that you like them even more. I kind of love that. I love that, you know, so far we've been like, I don't like this Pokemon because this, and you're sort of like, well, this Pokemon is fine, but imagine if it had this too.
Yeah, no, the thing is, whenever I redesign a Pokemon by my own, it's always the ones that I love, but I feel like they could be even better. I try to unlock that potential of that design to be even better than they could ever be before. Like that's something that is more memorable than they are like at the moment. I feel like Bombirdier really could have been this. And you know, it's still kind of cool that, it can throw rocks at people. But I just feel like it's even better for it to have, this Dragapult situation once again, where it throws a baby that wants to be thrown.
All right. Fantastic stuff from Virgo.
Yes, good job.
Very cool.
They look great.
What have you got for us, Bonnie?
Okay, so what's going on, Subjectivists? It's your boy, Professor Bodhi, aka Mr. Bonnie John. All right, today's Pokemon. I have selected two Pokemon that work really well hand in hand as far as type and their kind of underlying theme, which is the concept of energy.
Ooh.
Okay, where Berg chose Pokemon that, they enjoy and just need just a little bit. I outright hate these two mons. And I don't love to use the word hate these days, okay? But we are starting with Coalossal. I want to know what they were thinking with this guy. When I look at this man, this guy is just doing a little too much. The issue with this guy, I think overall, the fact that there's so little contrast across the entire design. You get some movement, color, bounce with the fire lighting up in the coal. We're looking at a mon who, if Verg was talking about why Bombardier is a pretty great design, just misses the mark, there's something called the promise of the premise, right? The premise of Bombardier was that you're looking at a mon who is tossing things from its apron, but both in its key art, in its animation, it's not really well built into that design. And I would say that when we look at the Coalossal line, it's, I don't want to say a failure, but when I polled my audience, everyone kind of said the same thing. We see that they expect something more out of the line. I think already people were really disappointed with Carkol. When you look at Carkol and the line as a whole, we have something that looks like this, where we have a wheel and then a minecart that has legs for some reason. I don't know why we tossed the wheels aside. And then you get a kaiju, right? A kaiju And that genre of Pokemon is amazing. I absolutely love them. They're quite often like very ambiguous designs, right? They're like a whole bunch of different kind of animals or monsters, usually, you know, inspired by a kaiju of some sort. And, you know, everyone wanted a train. I saw plenty of great train designs. And what do we do when you have something that people have done already? You've got to find new ways to make it work, right? Do we go with kaiju? Do we go with a train? The answer is both. Exactly right. So everyone say hello to your new and improved Coalossal.
Oh, wow.
Ooh, nice.
So when I looked at this line, there was very little contrast. You're just looking at a lot of cut rocks. The facets of the rock are so busy. There's so much movement. The face is just god-awful ugly. Bro is just ugly from the womb. I'm so sorry for you. Awkward limbs, like very strange, and just frumpy like silhouette for a big monster kaiju. Every single one of those elements I have tackled here. The promise of the premise of this line, you know, that's why people were disappointed with Coalossal. I got a lot of comments of people saying like Coalossal could be fine if it didn't have those specific two prevos, right?
True.
We expected a train or some sort of steam engine. You know, we're in the Galar region, right? At the end of the day, because they failed to deliver on the promise of the premise, which is, you know, a coal-powered vehicle sculpting itself into a more awe-inspiring representation of the Industrial Revolution and birth of a majestic transportation vehicle and system powered by an energy source that is so tied to the real-world location that is inspired by the Galar regions. We can still give a train and still have a kaiju. In this redesign, I made sure to, almost like a steampunk transformer, imply the train and deliver on the promise of the premise.
Clap.
Bonnie, I feel like I need to give you a cut of the revenue that I make from this video because you are like, you're carrying this video right now. You're giving us all kinds of character design tips. You're giving us a ton of personality, and you're giving us a fucking awesome design. Holy shit.
Appreciate it.
This is incredible.
I've seen many Coalossal redesigns, and they were literally just trains, but this is the
this is very
best
different.
in terms of making it still a kaiju and a train.
Yeah. And you know what? Funny enough, going back to, I love how everything is connecting. We have like the Rillaboom and the Delphox with the sticks, and talking about items and the evolution of accessories alongside the Pokemon. Carkle, you know, is carrying a whole bunch of these coals, but then the way they evolved that concept in Coalossal is that it just remains that same triangular shape. I thought, that's kind of lazy. Like, we don't really get an evolution in silhouette. Let's think about form and function. And so now inverting that triangle, which you can see in that silhouette, creates the chimney of the train, right? For that, you know, that visual representation
that's
of
why.
like the vehicle.
Yeah.
The face guard is the cowcatcher of a train. It also implies teeth, because something I thought was really a success here in this design. The face is now fully integrated into the coals. If you look at Carkle, its body's kind of like being consumed by the coals.
Become coal.
So let's have, revert to coal. You know, no, we want green energy around here. I wanted to have the face, because the face was like, in my opinion, like a really bad part of the design. The eyes are kind of like janky, like, and so having the coals, having them lit in that red, lets that negative shape imply a face. And again, it's kind of like buried into almost kind of like, it looks like a knight helmet. Even the body kind of has this motif of train tracks. So if it were to lay down on the ground, it would press into the ground to make train tracks.
It looks like it would transform.
Yeah, because you have the wheel
Yeah,
shapes on there too and everything.
I really do like this design. This design is great, but it is definitely something that they would not have done due to the fact that they were designing Coalossal with the unfortunate handicap that some of these Pokemon were going to have G-Max forms. And the very unfortunate factor was that G-Max Coalossal is the ultimate Coalossal. It is the final Coalossal. Oh, what?
I was going to say that, but I think Bonnie's prepared.
Oh, what?
He's definitely ready.
Berg, who you talking to, bro? Berg, I've got you. I don't let anything slide. The idea is, I wanted to give you a Pokemon that was both train and a kaiju. And if in the way that this Pokemon doesn't need to be a train in this evolution, let's have fun. let's have some fun. I introduced you now. Come on, you thought I was gonna skip out on a Coalossal Gmax, baby? Let's go.
God!
Oh my god! Holy crap!
So we did not need to make a secondary form for Coalossal, knowing that Gmax was on the way. So, looking at the Gmax form, I knew that I had to deliver on the promise of the premise, right? If I get it, they didn't want to lean full into the train. In fact, I believe for sure we would not have gotten Rillaboom if we never had at least some exploration for Coalossal. It felt like for it to drive, this guy needed to walk, as in very slow for a kaiju. But I really looked at the Coalossal Gmax and I thought, you know what, that furnace concept is a stronger visual design than the actual, final stage form. If you go back, the reason why I chose that specific red for the furnace is that's Gmax red. I wanted to infer that in its base design, this is something we didn't get in that first form. Why are we storing all this coal, right? Is it dust to evolve? Maybe. But let's have fun with this scenario. So for the Gmax to be this mountain of coal with an ever-shifting amount of charcoal and, the face is, of course, Coalossal. I brought back, rather, the eye of Roly-Coly, so we have like a kind of visual point. And then I also switched up, it might be sacrilege, the notion of all the Gmax having that swirling red cloud. I decided to put it as puff of smoke for the chimney.
I was wondering, I was like,
very cute.
I couldn't tell if that's what you did.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I think it is different, like where it's placed on each Pokemon is always different.
Oh, is that true?
Yeah.
I always thought, okay, never mind. Perfect. The way I picture this animating is that almost like a roller coaster, a whole bunch of these tracks kind of stacking in front of themselves, kind of magically. Everything is kind of rotating and near misses of all these carts. And then, of course, the head of the train is where your fire attacks and whatever rock attacks might come from.
It's one of those things where you look at it and you're like, of course, like, yeah, obviously you're going to go with an entire mountain being mined, but then you would never think of that. I mean, you would think of that, but I would never think of that.
Because this is a blue sky YouTube video, this is excelling. This for this video, this is absolutely the best of the video. The 3D modelers are going to hate you.
Oh no, 100%, because now you're gonna have to animate all these things. But I think this has gone way too long. I think we're good.
I was gonna say this is fantastic, and I'm sure we could talk about it for another hour. But we should probably keep moving. Keep this train on the tracks.
Yes, I love that. So we will jump right into the next mon, and like I was prefacing early on, there's a nice underlying connection, and I'll speed run it. Like I said, we're on the tracks right now, no breaks.
This is speedrunning?
This is speedrunning. I'm sorry. Hey, listen. I made the slides, baby.
Let's start from the beginning.
Let's start. So in the beginning, right? They say Arceus had 1,000. I think that's more kind of a nod to anyway. Sinnoh, legendaries, mythicals. There's too damn much of them, and when you have too many, they start losing the importance, their weight, right? In the words of Syndrome from The Incredibles. How does that quote go?
If everyone's super, no one's super.
Thank you very much. Exactly. Yeah. So if everyone's legendary, then when we look at this batch of Pokemon, you can break them down. At least you can break them into groups and start imagining this primordial soup and where they fit into the greater part of the world. And then you look in the corner and you have the biggest, this fucking doofus, Heatran.
I love him
Heatran.
just sitting in the corner. The nerdy kid just in the corner of the room, just
Heatran.
No one wants to say he can't sit with the cool kids.
I found out Heatran is 5'7". I'm taller than Heatran. I'm swinging on. I told you in the beginning of this video, many Pokemon are getting strong. I'm swinging on Heatran. In the same way with Coalossal, I polled my audience. They largely said the same thing. Thankfully, we're on the same page. Some people didn't even realize he was a legendary. Above all, everyone kept saying the same thing, that Heatran felt like a design that needed one context, right? Context is very important, especially for a legendary Pokemon. For a Pokemon like Heatran, everything about it does not at any stage of its design or conceptualization feels like it was meant to be a legendary Pokemon. Both in the fact that it's got so little lore, there's no fanfare to it. Its design just overall feels very, very frumpy. I would look at this Pokemon and I struggle to see the fire and the steel type. Okay, to be fair, let me clarify. It's more so that they do not feel represented as well as they could be.
Not living up the potential.
Correct. If I were to ask you guys right now, what does Heatran represent in the greater lore of Pokemon? And remember, he's a legendary Pokemon.
It's the same thing as Articuno, Moltres, and Zapdos. They are very rare Pokemon that require such specific habitats and very specific and very so rarely breed, to the point that this is a legendary, to the fact that no, it's not a god. It's not supposed to be a god. It's supposed to be this very rare animal. Well, I'm going to argue with you when you're done.
Yeah, because Ron's coming up with another answer.
It's not that it's the god of the metallic core, but it's its domain. Literally, the entire core of the earth is this Pokemon's domain. It would be legendary, even if it's not like a god of anything.
Okay, I like that. And both answers are valid, actually.
That's a good point that Virgo is saying, that it's like, you know, a lot of people conflate legendary Pokemon with like the equivalents of gods, because a lot of them do have that stature. But there is also the other side of it where it's just a legendary Pokemon could just be an incredibly rare Pokemon. And for some reason, Heatran is one of the few legendary Pokemon that has genders. It, for some reason, can either be male or female, which it's like the one thing I've liked about Heatran. It's just been so intriguing to me. I'm like, what? Why?
So there's actually, and I couldn't get like a proper source, so I don't want to spew anything out that's not true, but apparently there's this thought that they were supposed to be like a multi-stage line, and then they were eventually elevated to a legendary status. And so, therefore, I guess because they couldn't get either the design to work, it was programmed to, you know, if it were more of a run-of-the-mill Pokemon, be, you know, gendered. And, you know, at least with the birds, right? They might be incredibly rare, but once again, there's context in that they belong to a trio. They have a trio master. They fit, even if they are very rare, into the larger fantasy kind of world building of Pokemon, right? Even across regions, right? If Lugia is their, you know, trio master, so to speak. So I think above all, we just need a lot more context and a way to kind of fit this Mon into the world. And so I have prepared yet another little treat for you guys. I will present to you the legend of the mountain.
Okay.
This guy.
Oh my, look at this.
Just a little teaser. Just
Oh
a
my
little
god,
teaser.
it's gorgeous.
In
Beautiful
text,
piece of artwork.
Thank you. In text dated around the founding of the Hisui region, a tale was discovered that had since been lost long to time. For a long time, the region of Hisui was covered in snow and ravaged by blistering winds and ravenous cold. Humanity, as it were, was never equipped to deal with the conditions, but those that persevered were paid in kind by Almighty Sinnoh. From the ground, they raised a mountain of red, a stark contrast to the blinding white of fallen snow. In an instant, the heat of this entity began to tame the blizzard, and the people were saved. Time passed, and the barren land made by snow had soon become fertile, and in fact, so wealthy in nutrients that life began to thrive almost immediately. The people thanked Almighty Sinnoh, and began to leave offerings for the mountain to keep them safe from the weather. That was the first tale recorded of the mountain. Legends of it soon began to pop up all over Hisui, recorded by the native people, and then soon the migrants and refugees that would make the region their home. Time and time, tales were recorded of miracles that depicted the mountain, the stark red glowing with streaks of amber. The records indicated various discrepancies when it came to the strange orb sealing the top of the mountain, however. While it was always described in the tale, only once was it recorded to be illustrated as searing gold, and it appears in a tale ending in calamity. At the height of the war, the people of Hisui found themselves in civil unrest. The lands provided bounty, but humanity found themselves on two sides, and the fertile land was soon disgraced by actions indescribable. The mountain had seen enough. Seldom any records exist during this event, as it seems fire and smoke erase the darkness brought by mankind. Tales suggest numerous descriptions of the mountain. It came to life, ravaging the land it brought to the people it once saved. Other depictions claim the orb exploded, scattering across the land and bringing ruin not only to the village it overlooked, but all of Hisui. When the rampage came to a halt, the people realized it was never a mountain at all, but a volcano, brimming with near limitless energy. The once tall and proud Boon began to produce lava, surrounding itself and burying itself until it grew bigger and bigger. Soon, disconnected to the world, the mythology of a terrifying power grew as revered as the legend of the mountain. And Almighty Sinnoh let their child recover its strength in the womb of a sprawl of earth that the Sinnoh region of today call the Stark Mountain. As for the legend of the mountain, it goes by a new name today. The transfer of heat that set up the beauty of Hisui up in flames now patiently waits so it can be reborn again. That Pokemon that once blessed the lands and that ravaged it is now only referred to as Heatran.
Whoa.
That is the legend of the mountain, and a little better look at what I'm calling Heatran's dormant form.
Oh my goodness.
Catch that entire
Yes.
story on the Patreon.
Yes. The concept that I wanted to push with this, you guys are right, not all legendaries need to be gods and such. But I think above all, the issue, or not so much issue, is, contextualizing this Pokemon. Yeah, so you can see here the elements of Heatrans, the splotches of those original patterns, the stones that kind of litter its body. It feels a little more intentional, and I think by giving it a dormant form, or some sort of, in the same way, many legendaries have multiple forms, right? Like Hoopa and Xerneas. I thought doing something like this recontextualizes this Pokemon to just feel that much more interesting. And so in the world of the game, I would imagine that you would hear the story. You would know that something exists in Stark Mountain. There's this mountain within a mountain. Like, what's going on? What is... And, maybe through an in-game event, it would unlock itself from its dormant form into its active form. And so let's finally meet Heatran in its active form. This is your new legendary Pokemon.
Whoa!
God.
Wow. Okay, so now this is probably the biggest change.
I did not like any part of Heatran. I felt when I... Yeah, clearly. So you can meet the new Heatran here, the Living Forge Pokemon. So having a connection to Regigigas, which, by the way, it is paired with... Even the Pokemon Company put out a video with Regigigas and Heatran at one point. So they have this soft relationship, and I thought, okay, let's recontextualize this legendary Pokemon by connecting it to other legendaries. You see, between the two forms, the dormant form and the active form, the top is an iron ball. And we get the image of or inner core rather, is now perfectly smelted down to represent like just pure energy, pure heat. And its body is this crucible that is like, contains just, again, near infinite energy. And I could totally imagine this thing shaking the earth as it walks. And so for such a sturdy design, I wanted some movement. So you get the nice shape of the orb on the back, you get some flowing magma in the mouth, and even the hooves, so to speak, represent mountains or like the movement of lava. So I wanted to undercut that sturdy rigidness with movement. And that's my
Great
Heatran.
design. Should have been a new Pokemon,
Definitely.
in my opinion.
Yeah.
Well, we have our resident Heatran defender. So actually, Virgo, why don't you dish?
I really love this design. I love the design. I love that you made so much lore for it. I think you did a great design, but I think you lost a little bit of Heatran along the way. Actually, a whole lot of Heatran, which is what you wanted, because you wanted some...
Yes and no.
I mean, I actually do see a lot of like the Heatran that remained, which is definitely the lower jaw, the body shape. It's definitely a more refined Heatran. I guess it's subjective. It's a subjective opinion.
It's subjective opinion.
It is my subjective opinion that I think what is really nice about the original Heatran and what I personally like in Pokemon, I actually don't like it when Pokemon makes gods. I love it when Groudon and Kyogre were apparently deconfirmed by the devs like a long time ago before the primal retcon, that Groudon and Kyogre were just recent Pokemon that are super powerful. And I don't believe that Regigigas pulled the continents. I like to believe that Regigigas is an ancient creation by ancient humans, and was because of a game through telephone. We just made all of these legends about these creatures that we don't understand. So in my personal opinion, I don't like it when Pokemon are gods. I like to think about the greater mystery of the universe. But because this is fitting to, with the whole Hisui and that there are more legends, and this is your personal opinion. It's a design that excels and will have a lot of people who will love it, who will absolutely adore it.
Yeah, and for sure, I definitely hear you, and I suspect, you know, there'll be as many people who like this as they dislike it for moving too far away. But super valid points, and something that I've learned as I've been designing more and more, you know, Pokemon on stream, I find myself a lot in the minority of like disliking Mons these days, and I think that's really cool. Like, you know, I don't have to be the end all like decider that Heatran is bad or you know, whatever it is. But for sure, I recontextualized it. I did do my best to retain much of the Pokemon as far as, again, the mouth shape, the head within reason, as I kept recontextualizing it to fit, you know, again, my depiction, which is very lore heavy, and like anyone who knows me knows that for me, the strength of character design is, you know, of course, it's got to look cool or interesting or cute. It's got to be appealing, but it has to tell a story in its design. But I so appreciate your perspective, like genuinely.
No, yeah.
All right, so Bonnie, this has been fucking fantastic. I love how much you put into this, and I think that we should move on from here. I really appreciate the extra mile you went for this.
No, we'll call it right
and
here.
I think
Absolutely.
it's really cool, and I'm especially a huge fan of this Coalossal. I think that's my favorite.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, and I am really sorry, Bilsu, that I made you go after Bonnie because
It's okay. He's quite nutty with
do you
his
have
charisma.
do you have all the slides, Bilsu?
I do not have the slides.
Do you have the slides ready for us?
Unfortunately, I do. All right, so I'll just go.
Let's go. You got
The first Pokemon that I picked is a pretty tame one. I don't think anyone really... I've never actually heard anyone say this, but I don't think anyone dislikes Marowak.
No, I'd say that's a pretty
I see
popular
what you
one.
I love Cubone. He's one of my all-time favorites.
Very agreeable.
But my biggest problem with Marowak is that it is a Cubone evolution. And I don't think it looks different enough from Cubone to warrant it being an evolution. As a Gen 1 Pokemon, they still could have done something better with it.
Yeah.
You know, we kind of talked about this before, but it's holding the bone, right? We talked about
Props
evolving with the Pokemon. And the bone doesn't really evolve with Cubone. You wouldn't even know that they're actually different sizes based on their silhouette and proportions. So some of the things I wanted to change were the proportions. I didn't really do anything too crazy, but I also wanted to pull some inspiration from kobolds. And I wanted to add some more dino
cool.
to...
Oh, I like your thinking.
Please do.
So...
Virgo heard Dino.
Perking up.
Oh, no way. Come
That's
on. I
sick.
love it.
That makes total sense.
That's sick. That is sick.
Whenever I think of something like Cubone, I really wanted to be more aggressive looking. I even took some inspiration from its beta design, or like its evolution from its beta design, which I actually didn't know it had until I started it. I just randomly
so
saw
the Kangaskhan theory is canon.
Basically.
It
Although I
is.
think the front sprite is not real. I think the back sprite is the only thing that we've seen. But I may be wrong.
I gotta look this up now.
I also have it just next to Cubone because I also redrew Cubone.
Oh no.
But Cubone's
so good.
Dex entry always talks about how it's sad, but like if you look at its official art, it looks mad. So I wanted to kind of make it seem a little bit more sad. Yeah, I don't know. There's not really too much that I wanted to change. Mostly just the proportions and
The pattern's really good. The new pattern I like a lot.
Yeah, that was like one of the last things I added because I wanted to feel more like primal.
Yeah.
Monster Hunter Dino like.
Yeah.
I love the weapon. That is how you evolve a weapon.
Because it's
Yeah.
the bone
Very-
collector Pokemon, so I just imagine it piecing together like its own weapon.
Vertebrae.
Yeah.
Yeah, it still reads
Yeah.
organic and natural. You know, it still feels like an elevated tool. It's, you know, you can kind of see that spine kind of thing going on.
Yeah.
Got like either teeth or bone. Like it's fantastic. That's how you're supposed to evolve a weapon or accessory prop alongside a Pokemon for sure.
It has yellow eyes, so it definitely actually could work as a paradox form, as is.
Oh, that's true.
I love dinosaur Pokemon, but I also love it when dinosaur stuff is not even just strictly speaking dinosaur. Let's just add dinosaur parts. Let's just add the feeling of a dinosaur to it, which is what this is.
Like most of the dinosaur Pokemon are just the fossils. So I feel like having more just, because it is Pokemon, so you can add some of these extra features just to like its design.
Yeah, I think that people see a prehistoric looking Pokemon, they're like, oh, it has to be a fossil, but nah, it could just be a prehistoric looking Pokemon. Why not? I really love how you still have a lot of, obviously your rendering style is completely your own, but the elements in this design feel very Gen 1. The like ridges down the back are very Gen 1.
I didn't want to design it in a way that it was like, oh, what if they designed it today? I still wanted it to look like it could be in Gen 1.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like I was trying not to overcomplicate things like that, but I still want it to feel like an evolution.
No, 100%. We get that visual clarity.
Yeah, absolutely.
To me, it looks like it's based on whatever dinosaur like Rampardos is based on.
Oh,
Pachycephalosaurus.
Pachycephalosaurus.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting.
Yeah.
Looks very realistic. That's my point.
Yeah.
So my next one is definitely going to be one that's probably the most divisive here, I think, because I picked Cinderace. And I know a lot of people
like it, but I think even people who like it still understand that it could be redesigned.
Yeah.
I personally, like when I picked Scorbunny, I loved it. Like, I love Scorbunny. It's probably like my top 3 favorite fire starters.
Wow.
And I even really like Raboot.
love Raboot, yeah.
I love the energy.
Raboot
that it
is
has.
great.
But something about Cinderace just doesn't feel like it's a soccer player. I like the concept of, fire starter bunny, but also I feel like the Galar trio not having a secondary typing was just a missed opportunity.
Yeah, it's interesting.
They all kind of feel like they had one potentially. Cinderace has like this random ornamentation on it, on its
I do
leg,
hate that.
on its head. I don't really know what that's supposed to be. If you look at any soccer player, you don't really see
Yeah, that's
anything like that.
interesting. I'm not sure what they were going for with that.
And also one thing big about its design is that they try to pose it in a way where you see the bottom of its foot. Because each stage has the bottom of its foot.
That's true.
I feel like this pose is like a little weird.
Yeah, the perspective is weird.
Definitely for Pokemon.
So I tried to do more of like a
that's a nice
traditional
pose.
soccer pose. This.
Okay.
Oh,
Holy.
oh, say it's got rocket boots.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's smart.
Wow. That's how you
Rocket boots that are
incorporate
also
fire.
cleats.
It's my guilty pleasure to put fire on fire Pokemon.
Yeah. I love
That's
it.
It's
You-
totally
you have
okay.
to.
I know it's like the one thing that people don't like, but I'm like, I really like it.
Well,
It's
But,
allowed.
It's funny when I redesigned. I also made like an electric fire Cinderace
Yeah.
kind of thing too.
Yeah, I gave it fire electric. Yeah.
Cool.
I just wanted to change some of the proportions and like honestly think I removed more things from it ultimately than I added. But I wanted its like pattern from Scorbunny to kind of carry over.
It works.
Try to make the clothes look like patterns rather than like pieces or like fur.
Yeah, that's the hardest thing to do, and people are so adverse to it, the idea of implied clothing on
Yeah.
Pokemon designs. And you found a nice middle ground here where it serves the same purpose as clothing in that it breaks up the silhouette at key points where it's like, it adds a little pop of contrast here, it adds another shape here, but it's not explicitly clothing like shorts.
And I even have just a little image of all of them next to each
Oh,
other.
that would be good.
yeah.
Just because I know my style's like.
Oh
a little
wow!
different, so-
Wait, that's
Yeah.
I like this style way more than Sugimori, which is funny. I mean, it's technically not Sugimori
Yes.
style really anymore.
Actually, getting all that navy blue in there from Raboot, I never liked the way that blue sit on regular Cinderace. And the way you've used it kind of counteracts how bright and white the original Cinderace is.
Yeah, that was like the one thing I didn't like about Cinderace, and I wanted its face to look more cool
No,
or
yeah.
more like it's like competitive.
More aggro.
I'm in love with this art style.
Yeah.
I'm still like mesmerized.
I love that it is the Raboot, like, kind of like a little bit of an emo touch to it, because I like that. I really do like that. I love that.
Yeah, that was my
Raboot
favorite
is so
part.
good.
I also like how you went back into the first 2 stages, and you gave the yellow parts of them, which people were kept saying on Scorbunny looked like someone threw a piece of cheese at its face. And you kind of give it a little context as if, you know, it's some sort of glowing cell on the body of the Pokemon that will eventually erupt into flame.
You know, on Rabbit, it kind of looks like a sweatband or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
headband. It's meant to be a headband, yeah. Like a bandage.
Then on Cinderace, I'm like, well, screw it. It's just going to be on fire. It doesn't care about sweating.
I love the feet having like the burners or like the thrusters. Like you can see on the other foot they're like deactivated, and like I can picture every attack kind of like finishing with like wisps of flame. Like that spike is so nice. Like it almost looks like football cleats too, which is great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking at cleats for
Hell yeah.
soccer players and stuff. Because I really like Pyro Ball. Like, I like the animation.
So good.
Yeah.
I wanted it to be more like energetic.
No, the pose is more well, I guess it's got similar energy, but it reads so much better because there's not so much of that confusing foreshortening, which was so interesting that they went for that look with the key art. Like, I feel like if this was a Fakemon design, so many people would be like, that does not look like Pokemon key art. That doesn't, it's so strange. It's so thin too. Very little of the anatomy is actually showing. It's covered up by itself. So this pose that you picked was a perfect pose for it because it's still got the energy, still reads as soccer player or football player, but it is absolutely more engaging to look at.
Love the arms way more than Cinderace.
The arms saved this design.
Yeah, I basically just, you know, like squeezed his arms like toothpaste.
Yeah, you pulled. I do like that though when they're a little bit more bottom heavy
Yeah,
at
me
the
too.
arms.
And proportionate.
I was just gonna say the new proportions with the color distribution is where
Yeah.
this design needed to go for sure.
Oh, no, nobody's mentioning the thunderbolts on the ears.
Oh yeah.
I thought the little like yellow thing on the it was like a little cape, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. For some reason, I'm just like, oh, soccer players and a cape, like superheroes. It just kind of like registered in my brain, like, yeah, that works. It worked for me.
To little kids, athletes are heroes, and and to be fair, right, you don't have to make a soccer or football player. You just need to make an athletic Pokemon.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
that was like my biggest goal. I wanted to look competitive, serious.
And they do.
athletic. All right. Whew. All right, everyone take a breath and a sip of coffee. Give yourself a big old pat on the back for making it all the way to the end of this video. What do you think of our changes? Did we improve on the Pokemon you didn't like, or did we ruin your faves? Leave any and all thoughts down below in the comments, and be sure to tell us which Pokemon you would change if you had the chance. And if you haven't had enough Pokemon content yet, head over to True Green's channel for some more. I'll be designing some real weird mons with Ron, Bilsu, and Nordist. It's going to be a lot of fun, so be sure to give it a watch. Thank you all so much for watching this video. We really hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to leave us a like and subscribe for more fun art and art-related content. Thank you to Misplay for sponsoring this video. Their link is down in the description. Peace for now, and we'll see you all in the next video.